Hello and welcome everyone to the Ottawa Mission Foundation's first virtual Coffeehouse Chat. My name is Tony Bennett and I'm the chair of the board of directors for the Ottawa Mission Foundation. We have some special guests today. I'd like to introduce Sean Wong, who's our executive director of the foundation. Yeti Owalabi, who's our administrative coordinator at the Diane Morrison Hospice. We have also our friend Maurice. He's a special friend to the mission, and he'll share his personal story later on. Also joining us today is Angie Kelly. She's a valuable member of our foundation team who's excited to take you through the launch of our new virtual tour later on. The purpose of today is simple. We'd like to say thank you and share with you the impact your giving has made on this past year. As a volunteer, with the foundation, I also get to see firsthand the impact of the gifts that you've made and how it impacts the lives of our clients. And I've been fortunate to see this in a personal view. Having spent time serving meals during the holidays, truly you do really get to see the appreciation that is unmatched from our clients. Other things that benefit from your giving are our food services training program and the graduation ceremonies. It's truly an honor and a privilege to see these people have such great success as they move on to the next phase of their lives. Again, I've experienced this personally and what you've provided to the mission, but I know that many of you have not had the opportunity to visit the shelter, to tour our facilities, or to meet some of our guests. So today, we want to bring the mission to you. Our hope is that when you leave the webinar today, you'll be inspired with the knowledge that your gifts are impacting the lives of the most vulnerable in our community each and every day. So to accomplish this, I'm going to turn it over to Sean Wong, and Sean will share with you the highlights from the past year and introduce you to our special guests. Thank you all for participating. Sean?
Thank you, Tony, and thank you all for joining us. For many of you, you and I are with different members of my team. We've had this conversation either in your living room or your boardroom or a coffee shop in the city somewhere. But we didn't want to miss this moment to be able to communicate back to you as we've closed a fiscal year and as we enter another one to kind of report back on how things have gone. We will have an impact report that we will release in September that will have more details in it. But, when I sit here and I think about the impact that donor dollars have had over this past year, I was reminded this morning of what happens very often. I'm often in early and I hear the call, the announcement from the mission at 7 a.m., reminding guests that it's time to get up, that breakfast will be served in the dining room. And, when we report out the hundreds of thousands of meals that we give each day, it's one meal to one person at one time. And, I've known what it's been like to be hungry, but, the food was just in another room or, very accessible to me. And so this work is life-saving and you contribute to keeping people alive. Yesterday, when the announcement, when it was out, the temperature was, we're in the middle of a heat warning, and thankful to know that the shelter is a refuge. It's a safe place to keep people safe on those very cold days, but perhaps even more dangerous in these very hot days. And so you have literally saved lives over the course of the year. But beyond that, we want to be more than a shelter, and the leadership team of the mission takes people on that journey. Your donor dollars have helped us expand our housing focus. It used to be that you would see a housing worker during normal business hours, but we realized that we needed to meet the point of need at the point of need. And so now we have services that expand beyond the typical traditional hours to help people at their most desperate moment. The FST program, Tony mentioned it, and we've been graduating, 14 students per cohort twice a year. But Shep had this great vision that he could put 25 students per cohort, 3 a year, to give them skills to move into the restaurant industry. And so we had a bit of a setback with COVID, as you can imagine, but we are plugging ahead and your donor dollars are certainly making that work. And so we thank you for that initiative. The Diamond Health Clinic. Who would have thought the clinic would be such a pivotal point in the middle of a pandemic? And so Diamond stepped aboard to make a leadership gift on that. Many of you on this call have also made leadership gifts. And it's just expanded the services that we can provide holistically to men, to women, to address a whole host of issues as they present themselves to us. And so we're so grateful for that. Mental health continues to be a huge focus for us, and your donor dollars are going to make sure that people have specialized and individualized care to help them through some of the difficult moments. Perhaps even more significant is our chaplaincy service. We wanted to make sure that if people came to us and they had spiritual questions, they wanted to talk about things that were meaningful in life to them, that we would have chaplains available to talk to them. Maybe it's a grief issue, maybe it's an issue from the past, but we've really ramped up that offering to ensure that they have those services to touch on. And who would have thought that as we closed out this fiscal year that we'd be in the midst of a pandemic? And as we asked you for some of your questions, some of you asked, well, how's the mission doing from a fundraising perspective in terms of meeting the need in a COVID response? I got some data yesterday that told me that fundraising across the country, that's all sectors, is down about 6%. Fortunately for us, we're not seeing that trend come to us. Donors have been generous. We're concerned that perhaps some people made their gifts now that would make them later on in the year. But we're confident that, as time goes on and as we present the need, that donors will respond to that. And so we're in a position to meet the need, to use your donor dollars wisely, to ensure that clients are supported through this time. Tony mentioned that, we think the mission is our best tool to tell you all that happens. And so when we invite you in, you're amazed at all that goes on. We wish in some ways we had a hidden camera to capture your reactions, your comments of, I didn't imagine, I couldn't believe all that happens there. And so we're going to do what's the next best option. Through one of our corporate partners, we were able to photograph a 3D version of the mission. And I'm going to invite Angie to take us through some of that right now.
Thank you, Sean. Okay, so I am sharing my screen. So at this point, you should see a picture of the Ottawa Mission. I want to thank our corporate sponsors as well. It was RE/MAX Hallmark Realty Group that made this possible for us. So this was all done at no cost to us. And we are incredibly thankful to them and to you. And we're excited to show you through the mission today. So what you can see is us, and we are located at 35 Waller Street. Many of you will know that the mission is right in the heart of the city. We're right in the downtown core. We're actually on the edge of the University of Ottawa campus, and we're really near to the Byward Market. Right across from the shelter, you can actually see the new Ottawa Art Gallery, and we are steps from the Rideau Center, so very centrally located. You can see that the mission actually spans an entire city block here. So here you'll have Besserer, and then over on this side is Daly, and we're looking at it from Waller right now. So if you can see, this is actually our client services building, and we're going to talk more about what happens there in a couple minutes. This main area is mostly emergency shelter. So this is kind of the main building. And then here we've moved over to Daly Street. So the mission was actually started in 1906 by a group of Christian business people who saw people sleeping on the streets, and at that time it was men, and wanted to do something about it. So we originally opened our doors on George Street, but there was a fire, and so it moved to this location in 1911. But this building actually predates the mission, so it is very old, and it does have heritage status. But you can see that we keep it in really good condition for those that we serve. So beside this building, you can see right here is our hospice. And Yeti's going to talk a lot more about the hospice in a little bit. So this is obviously a newer building. It was built in 2001, and it was originally opened as a 13-bed facility, but then it was expanded in 2015, again, thanks to donor support. And we now have 21 palliative care beds in our hospice. And I think Tony mentioned this, the hospice was actually renamed a few years ago in honor of our former executive director at the mission. So it's now known as the Diane Morrison Hospice. And right here is another one of our buildings, and that is the Diamond Health Clinic. So the mission's primary care clinic actually opened in 2007. And when it first opened, it was located on the bottom floor of the hospice building. And at that time, we had 2 examination rooms and the dental clinic, but it was too small for the need. And so again, thanks to donor support from our partners at Diamond, we opened the new clinic in July, so July 2019. So today it has 4 examination rooms, and we have a dental clinic as well. So now we are going to go inside shelter. And we are going to start at client services. So you'll remember that was the building by Besser. So here you can see the main floor of our client services building. So in this building, we help people, hundreds of people every day with things like finding a new home, education and job training support, finding a job, and mental health services. So you can see we actually have 4 workstations set up for clients to use. And they're going to be looking for work, they're going to be looking for housing or for other social supports. And then we always have 2 staff on hand in the client services building, so you can see their desks. We always have an employment and education counselor and then a housing support worker. So our team in client services, like I said, they help hundreds of people every day. And Sean mentioned this, over the last couple of years, we've moved to become a housing-focused shelter. And that's to try and ensure that our guests are able to quickly leave the shelter and find safe and affordable, appropriate housing. So that's a priority for us. And last year, we helped over 200 people do just that. So now we're going to move to the 2nd floor of the client services building to our Stepping Stones Learning Center. So a lot of people are surprised to learn that we actually have a full-time teacher on staff. Her name is Kathy, and she is wonderful. In the center, that's where Kathy will meet one-on-one with students, and she works with them to achieve their personal learning goals. So they can be working to complete high school education, they could be doing basic literacy, computer skills, trades training, some are even doing post-secondary. So a lot of work goes on here. In addition to Kathy, we have a lot of volunteers who help out in Stepping Stones. And so they'll work one-on-one with students on specific coursework. Kathy will be the first to say she's not very good at math, so she has a few math tutors. And last year we had 59 students in Stepping Stones, and we had 2 who actually earned their high school diploma. So that's a real wonderful thing. Okay, so here we have moved to our clothing room. So many of you have probably donated clothes to the mission in the past, and you may wonder where it ends up, and it's going to end up here in our clothing room. So as you can imagine, we have many people who show up at the shelter with only the clothes that they have on their backs, and this is why this room is so important. So we have casual wear, we have business attire, we have shoes, underwear, socks, the whole gamut. And every year we hand out thousands of items of clothing. In the winter, we hand out hats, gloves, toques right from the front desk, jackets and boots to keep people warm. You can see that it is very tidy in here. It is actually much tidier than my closet. And that's because we have a lot of volunteers who, again, give of their time to sort clothing and to keep this clean for our clients. Now we are going to move to the Diamond Health Clinic. So as you probably know, many people who come to the mission don't have a family doctor, but they do have medical conditions that require treatment. And so they will come to the Diamond Health Center, and that's why it's so important. So this clinic operates in partnership with Ottawa Inner City Health, which is a nonprofit that provides healthcare to people who are homeless or street involved. As mentioned, it was expanded in 2019, so there's actually 4 examination rooms that look similar to this one in the facility. And the clinic is staffed by nurse practitioners and on-call physicians, and patients receive a gamut of care, including immunizations, injections, blood work, diabetes care, women's health care, diagnostic procedures. So there's a lot that goes on. And this clinic is open 7 days a week. And last year at the Diamond Health Clinic, we provided over 17,000 patient consults, which is crazy. So it's very busy. Also in the Diamond Health Clinic is our dental clinic. So unfortunately, many people who deal with homelessness don't have access to professional dental services, which is why this clinic is so important. So this clinic was started by Dr. Tom Harrell in 2007, and he continues to oversee the clinic today as a volunteer. So believe it or not, this entire clinic is staffed by volunteer dentists and dental hygienists who give of their time. And the type of free services provided in our clinic include care for dental pain, denture work, preventative dental care, extractions, fillings, and we even have an oral surgeon who attends if necessary. And last year we had 471 patient visits to this dental clinic. So again, a very busy space. So this is our chapel. As we mentioned, the Mission is a faith-based organization, and we do offer chaplaincy services to all guests and to members of the community. So we have a chaplaincy team, and they host chapel services daily, and they also provide spiritual care to people living in our hospice and also to those in our addiction treatment program. Also in our chapel, we actually hold memorial services for everyone who passes away in our hospice. So last year we did hold 24 memorial services in the chapel. And on the wall there you can see plaques, and these actually hold the names. That's our wall of remembrance. And it holds the names of everybody who's passed away in the hospice since it opened in 2001. Also in this chapel is where, when all of our emergency shelter beds are full, we put down overflow mats at night. So imagine up to 20 men sleeping on mats on the floor in our chapel at night. That's happened. It happens a lot. Last year we had to put down overflow mats 97% of the time because our emergency shelter was operating at a 111% capacity, so way over capacity. As I mentioned when we started, a big portion of our building is dedicated to emergency shelter, and this is just one of our rooms. So the Mission actually has 179 emergency beds, which makes it the largest emergency shelter in the city. Most rooms sleep between 6 to 8, much like this one. And every day, these rooms are cleaned, all the bedding is stripped off the beds, and it is washed. So we have a lot of volunteers who come in to help with the laundry. And when our guests return to their rooms at the end of the day, they're going to return to a clean room with clean bedding. That's really important for us. We do our best to make our guests comfortable, but we know that most of them would prefer to sleep in the privacy of their own homes. Last year, we sheltered an average of 193 people per night in the emergency shelter. And in total, we sheltered 1,792 people. Now we're going to move to the hospice, which, as I mentioned, Yeti's going to talk more about. This is where Yeti spends a lot of time, in the nursing station of the hospice. The Ottawa Mission was the first shelter in Canada and in North America that we know of to open a hospice, to providing end-of-life care to people who are homeless or street involved. To this day, there's only one other hospice of this type in Canada, and it's a 5-bed facility in Toronto. Our facility, which I mentioned was renovated in 2015, is a 21-bed facility for both men and women. Again, this hospice is operated in partnership with Ottawa's Inner City Health, just like our primary care clinic, and it is staffed 24 hours a day by healthcare professionals and registered nurses. So our focus in the hospice is really on providing physical, emotional, and spiritual support to people near end of life. And I've mentioned this before, volunteers, they're critical. We have many who help in the hospice, providing companionship and fellowship to our patients. So this is a typical hospice room. Unlike the emergency shelter rooms at the Mission, hospice rooms are private or semi-private. As you can see, the rooms are spacious, they are very clean. It's all hospital grade furniture, hospital grade beds. In addition to the rooms, patients have access to 2 lounge areas within the hospice building where they can visit with loved ones and with friends. And I'm sure Yeti will talk more about this, but we had 24 people pass away in the hospice last year. Now we're going to move to our dining room. So a lot of people, when they think of the Mission, they think about food and the number of meals that we serve every day. And that happens right here in our dining room. It's safe to say that the kitchen and our dining room are the busiest places in the shelter. This is where most of our guests will eat, so in the dining room. Most of the time, meals are served cafeteria style, but we do have special sit-down meals where volunteers, as Tony mentioned, serve guests right at their table. And most notably, we do that at Easter, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. Our guests and our community members receive 3 meals a day. So that's breakfast, lunch, and supper. And don't be fooled, this is no soup kitchen. So every meal we provide is hot, it's hearty, and it's nutritious. So last year we served an average of 1,422 meals every day. And to put that into context, that is over 520,000 meals over the course of the year. So where does all that food get made? It's made in our kitchen. So our kitchen was renovated in 2015. And as you can see, it is a beautiful, very clean space. It is a state-of-the-art kitchen, commercial grade. You've heard me mention the work of volunteers through almost every program here at the Mission, and they're critical to what we do. So last year we had over 1,000 active volunteers, and that's an average of 310 volunteers every single week at the Mission, and many of them work right here in the kitchen, and we need them to be able to put out as many meals as we do on a daily basis. So on a typical day in this space, it's never empty, just so you know. It was only empty for these photos. On a typical day, you would find many people working here starting at 4 or 5 a.m. That includes volunteers, that includes Mission staff, and even our food services job training students. So Sean talked a little bit about that program. It's one of our most successful programs. It's a 5-month job training, hands-on job training program that gives people the skills they need to work in a commercial kitchen. And the program started in 2004. Since then, 173 people have graduated and 90% have been employed at graduation. Last year, we actually had 26 people who graduated from food services. So we're very proud of them, and we're actually celebrating their graduation tomorrow. And that concludes our virtual tour. So I wanted to thank you guys for letting me take you through the Mission. That was an abbreviated tour. Usually I take about an hour, hour and a half. So if anybody wants to delve a bit deeper into a tour, any of the Foundation team would be happy to do that with you. Just feel free to contact us. Thanks.
Thank you, Angie. Appreciate you taking us through that. We were trying to figure out how we would make a virtual tour work, and Mikkel, our frontline manager, thought real estate agents do it the best. And so as you can see, it's a very great tool to bring you in. And as Angie said, if you want to dive a little deeper on some of that, we'd be happy to do that with you. Whenever we do a virtual tour, we're always excited when we make it up to hospice, because we know Yeti's there. Yeti is is dedicated, passionate, delivers exceptional care. And so thank you, Yeti, for joining us. Yeti's the administrative coordinator at the hospice. And I just wonder, Yeti, looking back at the last year, what are some of the high points, some of the services that you provided within the hospice?
First of all, I want to start out by thanking you for having me on this webinar today. So some of the services we've been able to provide is, for example, AcuDetox. So it's a form of acupuncture we do in the ears, which is pretty awesome. It's very relaxing for our clients. It helps with any form of addiction issues. It's just amazing. The other thing we provide is pet therapy, which usually we have the Humane Society come in, or Love on Leash, that bring a couple of pets in, and our clients love animals. We also have an amazing spiritual care team that has grown over the last year, that comprises of, deacons, Anglican priests, Catholic priests. We just reach out to the different demographics or the spiritual needs of our clients. We also have our country food feast, which is targeted towards our Indigenous population, where there is caribou that's flown in from up north served, and artichoke and some other pretty interesting things. If you're ever around after COVID, I suggest you can stop by and take a look at what that looks like. And we also have arts and crafts that are done by some of our volunteers, and also memorial services for our clients that pass away. So those are just examples of a couple of things.
There's lots of stories that you encounter each and every day. I wonder if, maybe there's one or two that you might want to share with us this afternoon.
So it's interesting that when you spend time with in our hospice or in our facility, there are always people that make impressions or stories that stick with you. An example, for the sake of this presentation, I'll just use an alias name. So for example, there was this guy named Tom who had a pretty bad lung. So his prognosis wasn't looking good. No one thought he would survive. He kept going in and out of the hospital and just needed a place where he could spend the rest of his life. So couple of months, that's what they thought he had. The most amazing thing about his story is a guy who had months to live ended up staying with us for 3 years, but his room was his world. So with him, because he was very anxious, he never stepped out of his room. The most he did was step out of his room, go to the washroom, and come back to his room. But he was very intelligent, had so much love to offer. For example, if his next door neighbor needed something, they'll be talking across the room, which was pretty cool. And they shared stories. But another thing was he had no family when he came to us. And at first, when he came, he said, I've been estranged from my family. I don't think they want anything to do with me. I'm not interested. But staying with us, he began to experience a sense of community and experience compassion and dignity, and decided maybe there's a chance. If it's possible, sure, I want to connect with my family. So I looked through 411, called the cops, the whole 9 yards. Eventually, we stumbled on someone in his family. And the amazing thing is we placed the call, and in less than 20 minutes, 5 family members showed up. And from that day onwards, they were in his life. He was so overwhelmed, saying, I was only looking for one person. And I ended up finding 5 of my siblings. I have nieces and nephews, and he was just amazing. So we miss Tom, and his contribution towards us is just not the same. So without him, we miss his presence. So that's an example. Another example of someone that made an impression was someone named Sandy. So Sandy had been incarcerated for many, many years. But the unique thing about Sandy's story was the mission was home to her. So at some point when she got out on probation, she had actually used client services and actually been in our food training program. So she knew a lot of people. She was well known in our mission. So coming back to the hospice was just home where she fit in. And Sandy's story was so interesting that when she came in, it was, it was quite an adjustment, because while she was at the mission using our services, she was actually known as Tony. So she actually, years after being incarcerated, she had a gender change. So she was transgender, but coming to us, a non-judgmental environment, she could be who she was. She could be loved by her community. And a funny story is at the hospice, we all get meals are served 3 times a day, and you can get any other thing you request. So because she had links in the kitchen, she decided to request for steak. And we thought it was a joke. So one day we get a call and she's like, yeah, can you just call the kitchen to send my steak? And I'm like, we don't offer steak. Like, steak is not served today. Lo and behold, steak showed up for Judy. I'm like, how did that happen? She had convinced someone in the kitchen to make her steak. So we laughed that we all got played. But again, Judy had an amazing, amazing heart, a heart of gold, that even though she had been incarcerated for such a long time, she had so much to give, so much encouragement for the other clients that stayed. And her love for pink was, I mean, I had a splash of pink everywhere. She's like, Yeti, I love pink on you. So I miss that about who Sandy is. And not only that, at the point where she started to decline, she didn't think she was going to live to see her birthday. So that was something that was touching. We connected her with her sister, and she got an inner city blanket, and she took a picture. And that was something that even when she was really sick, she says, I want that picture. That picture is something that I would hold very close to my heart. So those are just a little bit of things that we do at our hospice, making a difference, seeing the smile on our clients' faces, knowing that through everything they go through, that they have us, they have their families, they have an opportunity to be connected to their world. That means a lot for us at our hospice.
Thank you, Yeti. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your work. We get to stay on this call for probably the rest of the day and hear a variety of other stories, and we would all need Kleenex to probably get us through those moments. But I would say to any of the donors that are listening today, if you want to dive a little deeper on the work of the hospice, we'd be happy to arrange a connection with Yeti to dive a little deeper in that. And so feel free to reach out to me or Angie to make that happen. I'm physically distant with my good friend Maurice here. I started at the foundation just over 4 years ago, and I remember as I made my tour to get familiar with the space, one of the very first people I met was Maurice, and his smile just lit up the room. I remember on his dresser, you had pictures of your daughters there, and you were down to just a number of days before you were leaving. And you've had an incredible journey from the mission, but we're appreciative that you still stay in contact with us.
Thank you.
Your first day, you arrived at the mission. I mean, maybe just walk us through that a little bit.
Sure.
That first day.
Okay. Thank you for letting me share, Sean. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Firstly, the mission started for me in jail. I did 40 days in jail, and then there's a lady named Amy. She came around and checked on people where they were going after jail, if I had a place to stay. Of course, I said no, I was homeless. She called Jessica from the stabilization program here at Ottawa Mission, and then Jessica called me and asked me if I was interested in going to a rehab program. So that was no problem, but I was coming out of jail the Friday morning, but I needed to be at the mission on the Monday afternoon. I did not want to go back home to my old friends for the weekend, and I had $2,000 in my pocket. I would have never made it back to Ottawa. So they organized it so that I would volunteer to stay in jail 2 extra days. and I did. I stayed in jail the Saturday and Sunday. I made it to Ottawa. I'm standing outside the mission, sweating so much I thought I was going to die. And then the frontline guys came out and gave me a bottle of water. And they went somewhere, and then on the way back, I had finished my bottle. They gave me another water bottle. And I made it upstairs and then started doing all the paperwork. And Jonathan was writing me up, and Evelyn was in the corner with another client. And he's asking me questions. As soon as he asked me mental illness, I said, yes, I'm rapid cycle bipolar. Right away, Evelyn said, you said what? Seriously, that's what she said. Excuse me, she said. Do you have a mental illness? I said, yes. I said, do you have medication? I said, no. So she got on the phone right there and then in front of me and started making phone calls for me to see a psychiatrist and to get my medication. And I still take those same medication today that I got that from that week. So that was my first impression of the mission, was that people were taking care of me. I didn't even know them. I didn't even know who they were or why they were. Well, I know why now, but I mean, it really, really touched me a lot that people actually paid attention to me for once in my life. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Incredible. There's got to be a particular person that stands out, you know, someone that journeyed beside you in those days. Is there anyone that comes to mind?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Her name is Laura Robinson. Well, now she's married there, but I've been calling her Miss Laura since day one, and I still call her that today. But she was my first counselor. I was her first client, and like the poor woman, you know, I think I put her through hell because I had so much crap in my life, so much sexual abuse, physical abuse to deal with, and I'm sitting there one day and I'm sharing this with her, and like I'm crying because it's so incredibly hard to share. And I can tell her eyes are getting a little bit glazy. She's not crying, no drops, not, but like I could tell like this was a lot. It was heavy, and she did one of these on my leg. Mo, listen, Mo. I said, I will help you. I will carry your pain, some of your pain with you. I will put that pain on my shoulder, and I will help you walk. I will help you get through this. And it was like an angel that just fell down from heaven. And she was my counselor the whole time I was at the Lifehouse. I swear to God, I must have phoned her 1,000 times. I would write her a letter, put them under her door, office door at nighttime. I would run down there and knock on the door. Miss Laura, are you available? And after a while, things got really smooth. I got stronger and I got more mature, and I stopped crying finally. She said to me, Mo, there's a program called Men in Healing, and you should consider taking this. Well, I went to one session and I really liked it. And one block is 20 hours, 10 weeks, each Monday night. I did 87 hours in a row. And just to get rid of all the stuff I need to deal with in my life. And if it wasn't from that healing, getting rid of the guilt, the shame, suicide attempts, suicide temptation, because I felt so lousy about my life. If it wasn't for all that, I would not be here today. There's no way I would be here today. And for now, I can look straight in the mirror. I can be proud of who I am and what I've become. Yeah, so she had the biggest impact on my life.
Yeah, and you know, Laura's just, you could have named others.
Oh my God, yes.
I know Laura's just one example of the great team of workers at the mission that you as donors invest in, and then they make the life change happen in people like Maurice. And you know, your story can be duplicated many times. Yeah. Every story is different, but we're certainly proud of who you've become and how you stay in connection with us. Maybe, what does life look like today? I mean, we met 4 years ago, you're on your way out, you know?
Oh, now my life today is, I'm happy, I'm calm, peace. I haven't had any bipolar crazy incidents in 4 years because I'm on good medication. I'm only taking 2 medications, and they've been very effective. And I know God had to work in that situation because before I had 9 of them, 9 medications. Wow. So something was wrong somewhere. My life, I have a beautiful apartment, beautiful furniture. I have a good job. I'm a window cleaner, and sometimes I do high rise. But I just met someone, a wonderful lady, and that's really cool. Like I'm clean and sober 4 years and 1 month now.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
Yeah, I'm so peaceful and happy. I'm joyful, and I'm not ashamed anymore. Not one bit. That past is so far gone, and I don't think about it anymore. And that was a big deliverance. And I love to come back to the mission because I've come here to see Kathy Gillis. I come here to see Miss Laura, Chantal, Natalie all the time. And I take courses with the mission, and I take classes. And I just finished a virtual class on the computer that Kathy Gillis recommended for me to take on fall protection. It's perfect for my job. And I keep coming to the mission, like from meals sometimes. I come to the clinic all the time. The ladies at the clinic, they know me real well. They know my needs. They know what I want. It's so easy to come here, and it's my family. I've never been back home to where I used to live, and because it would be a bad idea. It would be a bad influence. And I feel just so happy here because I feel this is my family. And I mean, I walk around here and people say hi, and I'm not sure I recognize them, but they know me or they know of me. And I feel so loved and so welcome and so privileged to be here.
Yeah, and I want you to know how much you've given us too. And
Thank you.
We're truly blessed to know you and to have you in our lives. And so
Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Tony, you've been board chair now, I think, just over a year, heading into your second term. You know, as some of our donors will know, others might not, that, you know, the foundation is accredited with Imagine Canada. That means we have to keep the highest standards around board governance, around financial transparency, fundraising, staff management, and volunteer involvement. But as good stewards of the mission, what does stewardship mean to you in terms of how we use our donor dollars?
Well, you know, as COVID-19 has shown, the needs and the services that we provide the mission are more important than ever. And as far as, you know, managing and having good governance and ensuring we have the funds available, you know, our goal at the Ottawa Mission, and we're part of the foundation, but I'm also with the Mission Board, is to end homelessness. And can you just imagine, as we go through COVID-19, we ask for people to self-isolate and stay home, and people don't have a place to go. You know, they're on the street. They have no people to support them, like they're like a family unit. So our work is just become exponentially so much more important that we run this operation as well as we possibly can, because our goals are immense, and we certainly have a goal to end homelessness. And, you know, we didn't really talk about it today, but the different properties that we've been purchasing to transition our clients. But truly, we have, you know, it's just been made apparent to me and to board members that our job is even more important today than we would have seen even 4 or 5 months ago.
We're coming to the end of our time together, but, you know, is there a takeaway, Tony, that you would want to leave with our donors today?
Well, certainly we want our donors to feel appreciated. We absolutely appreciate everything they give to us. Every dollar helps us, certainly. You are making a difference. You're making a difference in everyone's lives. And we always say, you know, it's one life at a time. And, you know, Maurice, thank you for sharing with us today, because these are the things that make a difference. And Yeti, thank you for sharing with us, because, again, your patients and your clients, this is where the difference happens. So thank you all. And we absolutely want to hear from you. So, you know, Angie and Sean want to hear from our donors on, you know, what's important to you and how we can continue to serve our community and serve God and serve the best interests of our clients and our donors. So thank you all very much.
Good. Yeah, and just let me echo that thanks. I know some of us have a little bit more time with COVID, and so we appreciate you taking this 45 minutes with us. You know, our work too at the foundation is made easy because of the great work of the foundation, of the mission. And they have a great leadership team over there. They have great vision. Peter Tilley and his team continue to look for ways that we can keep our guests at the forefront of all we do. And we want to make sure that as you see our signs, as you get some of our notes, that we're truly committed to life changing. And so as we wrap this up today, we just give you a heartfelt thank you. Reach out, send me an email, call my cell phone, call the office. We want to have a conversation. And I know there's a few questions we didn't get to today. In the interest of time, we want to deal with those. If you've emailed, we'll email you back. but please reach out. And so may God bless you, and thank you for your time that you spent with us today.